before, so apologies. Morning, everyone. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you are starting your own business or thinking of starting your own business in the audience? Okay, and are there actually any investors in the audience right now? One or two. Okay, good. So you can tell me if I'm going the right way or not. You can qualify as to whether or not this is what you're after. Okay, cool. I just wanted to get an idea. And the rest of you in the audience, what brings you here? Just maybe one or two quick questions to you, first of all.
I have a business, but we're also ready to start up another business, and I've been watching BizSpark, and looking at things that we do with some of the new startup companies, especially in the innovation area.
Okay.
That's something that we're looking at, and that was my idea.
Okay. So I guess that's the next question. How many of you are thinking of starting a new business? Okay, cool. All right. So today what I wanted to talk about is the perfect pitch. And part of my role is to work with startups in the technology space, but I'm trying to make this more generic to any type of business, and introduce them to investors. So a lot of the VCs, angels, funds do consider me a good source of introductions and insights. We do send a lot of really interesting companies their way through my job. And as a part of that, we really try to work with these guys to help them do a perfect pitch. Typically in the tech startup scene, we have what we call pitch contests. In fact, I'm actually a judge on one tomorrow night. And really what you do is you're 2 to 3 minutes on stage, you pitch your business. The dragons on the panel then sort of give you feedback as to, what works, what doesn't. And I think the big message is if you can't get your message out, then you've got something to worry about. So I thought I'd actually start with this little slide here. What I do at Microsoft and what we actually do globally is we actually love working with early stage tech startups. And in a couple of slides' time, I'll talk to you a little bit about the scale of the program, just so you get an idea. But really, this is just very important to say that we really, really value engagement with SMEs, in particular in tech and software space. And you'll understand in a minute through the scale. So I thought I'd start with a very quick introduction to BizSpark, the program, just because then that'll give you an idea of how big corporates actually, particularly in the tech space, engage with small companies. And to let you know that there are a fair number of other corporates out there too, IBM, Google, a lot of those kind of guys also engage quite closely with the startup space. So just to give you an insight into that. And then, of course, I'll dive into the meat of the discussion, which is how do you do the perfect pitch? And, just to give you some step-by-step thoughts on how to do that. So what is BizSpark? Well, first of all, we kind of call this a local software economy. And this is actually what we think is the ecosystem surrounding technology startups, or startups in general. I myself work with other large corporates such as HSBC or BT and their SMB divisions. Incubators, so university incubators. I work with a fair number in London, Edinburgh. I know we do have a relationship with Leeds University, but I haven't really gotten to know the incubator here yet. But really a lot of folks will float businesses out of university research and we'll work closely with them. Obviously governments, we do a fair amount of work with Tech City and other parts of the government focusing on entrepreneurialism, and students and investors. And in fact, last night we hosted an event for student entrepreneurs in our London offices, and really inspiring and encouraging them to start businesses, because we're seeing more and more young students starting businesses. And part of our program is to help encourage that. What is BizSpark? Actually, these stats are slightly old, believe it or not. This is we now have 47,000 startups, or 45,000 startups worldwide. The program is actually run out of Silicon Valley. 112 countries, 9 languages, and in the UK now, there's actually over 2,700 companies in the program. So there's a fair number of what we call technology startups. And really, in essence, what it is, it's we give them software. So instead of having to pay us for it, we provide it to them for free for 3 years, and then whatever they use, they get to keep. And because Microsoft is a platform company, we're giving them the tools and the building blocks and the cloud capabilities and the servers they need to build out their business. And really put their costs focused on, let them focus their business on selling and closing deals and building the business. And take away some of this initial upfront cost. In terms of support, we do obviously lots of technical support. We'll bring companies to our labs, but actually we'll do more than that. There's a lot of mentoring and advisory that goes on. I do introduce them to a fair number of investors, but actually other parts of the ecosystem. I work with banks, I work with law firms, accounting firms, all of them who are focused on the SME. So it's actually quite a nice close-knit ecosystem. And you can think of that sort of in a bigger perspective. There are people out there. Visibility, well, obviously we're a global company, so quite often we can give you visibility on Microsoft.com, and that's a really fair big audience. So we'll have a startup of the day, and it's kind of a little global contest as to how many British startups we can get up there versus French or German or American. And my accent, by the way, is Canadian, just so you're aware. And so it's things like that. So it's really just a program to help support the startups. As you can see, we're actually a global team. It's quite fun. I'm regularly talking to the BizSpark leads in Brazil, India, Russia, China, France, Germany, Canada. And it's great because, these startups, it's no longer where you are. It actually really is global, based in technology. So it's really wonderful that we can engage worldwide. And a good war story is 2 nights ago, I was at the London Web Summit, which is basically a website summit or online summit. And one guy is moving his company to Brazil, so I was able to do an email introduction to my Brazilian counterpart, and she's very well connected there. That's quite cool. How it works? We have network partners, and these the kind of people I talked about in the ecosystem. They generate a code and they sign startups up for the program. And to qualify, you need to be less than 3 years old, privately owned, building a software-based business or service, and making less than $1 million, which there's a fair number of that right now. So really easy, and you are, and you become part of a big mass online ecosystem. So if you want to learn more, that's it. And we also have a UK LinkedIn site as well, where there's a lot of CEOs and entrepreneurs. We probably have about over 950 CEOs and entrepreneurs on that LinkedIn group. Very, very proactive, and they really do a lot of talking and helping to each other. So, but on to the meat of what we're talking about. So the way I'm going to talk about today is you have that chance meeting. So I saw 2 people raise their hands in the audience that are investors or angels. And you happen to have that chance meeting, you might get introduced to them, even at a conference like today. And really, what are you supposed to do? You have 1 minute to really talk about your business and your value proposition. And actually, that's really, really, really difficult to get to. How can, those of you in the audience that have your own businesses, I'm going to pick on some people. Can you raise your hands again if you have your own business? All right. So I'll pick on you, sir. Tell me about your business. 1 sentence or less.
We're a company that helps save time and money.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that we're after. It's very much, you've got to be able to get it out in that very first sentence. And if you're pitching on stage or on Dragon's Den, right, you're given 3 to 5 minutes, and you're given 3 to 5 minutes to get the entire content and everything about your business to investors. And I'll tell you what, these guys usually know within the first minute to 2 minutes whether or not you're a proposition worth talking to. These investors hear hundreds of thousands of pitches a year, and and there is an absolute gut feel. And in my role, I hear hundreds and hundreds of pitches, and I just know within the first minute or 2, I'm like, yeah, you're someone to actually really get to know better, and yeah, I actually do want to have that first 30-minute meeting with you. Because these guys are quick, right? They have to be. Even the smaller VCs are getting 600 to 1,000 business plans a year. They've got to filter through that. They've got to do a first 30-minute meeting and then a 2-hour meeting, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's actually quite efficient. And some of them will only make 3 to 5 investments a year. So really, the odds are against you if you think about it. So the rest of this discussion, I'm actually going to talk about how you make the VCs stop from saying that. Huh? What? What's your business? What's it about? And this is, a tried and tested formula in Silicon Valley. I know this is technology, but actually this applies to any business as well, in my view. If you can get sort of these next 7 points across, do it in 7 slides, or whatever you want, you know, you're going to actually be able to really encapsulate what's going on in your business in a way that really helps you get to that next meeting. So I like the Meerkat commercials. They're fun. It's quite simple. So it's a very formulaic approach. And the rest of the deck, I'll actually talk through each of these bullets with you. Just to give you a couple of seconds to read that. For me, I find this super important. You don't want slides that are too wordy or pitches that are too wordy. I really find really cool pictures say 1,000 words. You know, my shoes, my Marrakesh market. You can still talk around it and you can learn. But the point is the focus is then on you, right? As opposed to the slides. Because you know what you'll do is you'll print out your slides, you're in a meeting with the VCs, and they'll just be reading through it. Because all the wording's on there. And you don't want that. You want the focus on you. You want them to ask you the questions. You want them to see that you are in control of the business and you know what's going on, soup to nuts. And that's that. Thank you very much.
We have time for a couple of questions if anyone wants to pick up any of these points. No. Okay, I'll ask you.
Did someone raise their hand there? Yeah.
It's this lady here.
We just need to get a microphone to her. Sorry.
Thank you for your words on the pitching. What I'm a little confused about is I'm not familiar with BizSpark and Microsoft, and can you loop back and say what the connection is? What is BizSpark of software?
Yeah, it's provision of software, free software to early stage tech startups.
Yeah.
So we're a community and we support through our partners.
So Microsoft is doing this for free.
Yeah.
But what do they get out of it?
It's a platform play. So we are a platform company. We want people to use our tools and our services. And remember where I said, like just 5-10 minutes ago, 90% of our revenue or more comes from partners.
Yes.
So we're building the next generation of partners on our platform.
So
eventually that will result in revenue for us, we hope. It's a long-term play.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I'll say is open source is free. LAMP is free. So this is our compete against the open source and LAMP. Because we can't compete when you have to pay a certain amount for a Microsoft developer license when everyone's developing for free in that other ecosystem. So this is our way of saying we're trying to bring our tools and our technologies to a much earlier stage. So and that was a decision made in 2008.
So as we're all trained as kids nowadays on Outlook, it's an upgrade as you grow yourself and your business. It's like the retention of Microsoft as we all grow.
Yeah, it's a platform play.
I got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So that's what's in it for us. And actually the team that we all are, we're all uber passionate about entrepreneurship. Every single lead in every country I've met, we all have a very similar passion about it.
And how much revenue does Microsoft generate today?
Out of this?
Yes.
Well, the first set of graduates just happened about 4 months ago. So we're still working on those numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first set of licensing is coming through. There's going to be a lot of analysis that needs to happen before we can figure out what money comes back to us. But ultimately, it's the right thing to do for the ecosystem as well, very much so. And we were in the past lambasted for not playing. We are now, and we mean it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more? This gentleman here.
Hi, Johnny Ross. You've worked in many countries, including Canada, USA, and Europe. And I'm just wondering, the current number of startups at the moment in the UK, are we setting a trend, or what's next?
In the UK, we're a top performer outside the United States. We're a little bit competitive in our international team. So US, obviously, 600 million mark, or 300 million people. So we're actually, in terms of per rata, we're actually top performer as BizSpark.
Within Microsoft, yeah.
Within BizSpark, yeah. And then also Microsoft as a subsidiary in the United Kingdom. Yeah, we're one of the largest subsidiaries outside the United States as well. And we are a tremendous contributor to the UK economy. One pledge we made about 3 years ago in a program called Britain Works And then we pledged that we'll bring 300,000 people back to work through our retraining and skill centers, through BizSpark and creation of jobs in BizSpark, and through apprenticeship programs as well. So we're a pretty big participant in the UK economy.
You said that venture capitalists in the UK are risk averse. How do you change that culture so they'll take more risks?
I think they're starting to. Personally, like if I compare it to 3 years ago versus now, I see more people investing in ideas. I just think it's traditionally been that way. But I think the government is also starting to encourage, more and more American style or Silicon Valley style investing to come across. So I think traditionally it's been that way, but I'm seeing more people taking risks.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Bindi. David Thornton. Just picking up on that last point. Sorry. Hi, Bindi. David Thornton. Picking up on that last point about investors being risk averse or more risk averse in the UK than North America. Are North American business angels and venture funds interested in investing across borders like in the UK, or do they tend to be predominantly or almost exclusively North American investments that they look at?
I think until recently it's been pretty divided. A lot of LPs, limited partners, those are the people that give money to the funds. Very few are investing in European funds. But I think something like the Tech City Initiative, some of their objectives are to bring US-style venture capitalists across the pond and get them to invest in UK businesses. So a good example is Songkick was just invested in by Sequoia, which is the VC on the West Coast, and Songkick.com based in London and in Tech City. And that's quite new because it's traditionally been the UK or European funds that have invested. So I think we're starting to see more of that come across, and I think there's more come to Europe.
That'll stimulate the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a real passion to make it work. So I have seen it divided, but I'm beginning to see more and more. I'm seeing more American angels come here. So California, we have this category called super angel. And, they're very wealthy, made their money through PayPal or, Google or whatever exits, and they now invest in lots of startups. So Dave McClure from 500 Startups is a good example. He's based in Valley. He's a Californian super angel. He wants to invest in 500 startups, and he's got 3 or 4 British investments. So he's in London a fair amount. So we're starting to see it. There's more to go, and we got a lot more work to do to convince them to invest here, but I'm starting to see inroads.
Okay, optimistic note to finish on.
Right.
Thank you very much, Bindi Karia, for your excellent insights into what VCs are looking for in investors. I hope you take some of these with you, and I hope they can help you propel your businesses forward and achieve your own full potential. So can you please show your appreciation